Welcome to Policing TV. I'm Jason Harwin, and I'm delighted to be hosting the fifth in our series of interviews exploring the role of the College of Policing. As many will know, policing is facing a significant number of challenges at the moment, and the college has a real key part to play in helping overcome them. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Superintendent Gaynor Wardle, who is the Policing Standards Manager with Specialist Ops at the college. During this episode, Gaynor will be telling us a little bit about her policing career and her role at the college. She's going to talk about her responsibilities as the Manager of Policing Standards and the important work on POPs and public order. She's going to talk us through how that's addressing some of the challenges that policing's faced over the last couple of years around protest, and very topically the issues that's occurred in Leeds only 7 days ago. And importantly, she's also going to talk about how them standards are being applied consistently across policing and how it's been evaluated across the changes. So Gaynor, a massive welcome. Thank you so much for your taking your time out to speak to us today. I know you're really busy. Look, I'm really interested. I'm interested in all the interviews, so please don't tell Mr. Marsh I wasn't interested in this interview, because I was. But important, I'm particularly interested in this one because public order was my bag really when I was did my 30 years service. Again, from both being a tactical advisor, a trainer, PSU officer, sergeant, inspector, all the way through to bronze, silver, gold. So I have been the other side of looking at how the college in the past have made sure we've got some consistency in application as well. So no more about me. Let's talk about you. Tell us a bit about your policing career then. What you've been doing.
So I joined the police what feels like yesterday, but it was actually 1994. I joined Greater Manchester Police and began my career as a constable on the North Manchester Division. I'm from North Manchester originally, so I know the area fairly well and did when I joined back then. And the minute I joined, the minute I put my uniform on, the minute I stepped foot on the parade square at the training college, I just knew that this was what I was meant to do for my career. So I stayed in North Manchester for 4 or 5 years and then moved over to the Roads Policing Unit. And then I performed several roles within the specialist operations world, PSU constable, PSU sergeant, PSU commander. And then I worked for GMP for 23 years. In 2017, my partner and myself, Nicola, made the decision to move to Cumbria, and I transferred forces in 2017. Performed several roles in Cumbria, from Command and Control Room Inspector as a FIM, Command and Control Room Chief Inspector, Silver Pops Commander, Tactical Firearms Commander. And then in 2022, I got the opportunity to come and work to the college as a seconded superintendent. I've used many of the college products as a TFC or as a POPs commander, but when I came to the college, I realised just how well informed those products are, how they're developed, the evidence base that's used to develop them, how the college is a leading stakeholder in part of that strategic stakeholder partnership working with the National Police Chiefs Council and the National Police Coordination Centre. I'm the Policing Standards Manager, as you say, for specialist operations, and this role is really exciting. You get to see policing not just on a national level, but on an international level as well. We work with partners from all over the world, British overseas territories, within, particularly in the public order, public safety element of my role.
So obviously I'm conscious of, and I know from a previous conversation we had, you're coming towards the end of your service as well, aren't you, Gaynor? So do you want to just share a little bit more about, you don't have to find it, but share us a little bit more about that, what your plans are.
Yeah, so you're right, I'm due to finish in 4 weeks after 30 years as a police officer. And if I could go back to being 22-year-old me, I would do the same thing over again. It's been the best career ever, and particularly the specialist operations side of it. The other thing I will say is if I'd have had the opportunity to come to the college earlier in my career as well, I would have absolutely done so, and I would encourage anybody who gets the opportunity to do so to come and work at the college, because you see policing from a central perspective, from a whole different perspective, and you understand how it works and how it supports frontline policing and operational policing. So I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of my career, and the last 2.5 years haven't disappointed.
Good, that's great to hear. And obviously, in terms of your role, then, have you got some people working for you, Gaynor?
Yeah, so I work as part of quite a large team here at the college. My portfolio includes many spec ops roles, so public order, public safety, public and personal safety training, armed policing, less lethal weapons, job-related fitness testing, all the other portfolios that sit within National Public Order, Public Safety, so protest, events, football, and I'm part of a team of 26 people. So I would say about half of the team are seconded police officers who remain in contact with frontline policing. Many of them are still operational in their specialist subject matter expert role. So we've got bronze commanders, silver commanders, public order, public safety advisors who are still operational whilst maintaining their role on my team at the college.
Which is, I think, is really important for viewers to understand that, Gaynor, is that actually you've got people there that's not just talking about and setting the standards, but importantly demonstrating the standards, and again, importantly bringing stuff back to the college in terms of how things are working or not. So I think that's really great. And I know when I spoke to some others from the college, again, it's people are not just going to the college and disappearing, are they, in terms of all the hard work you're doing, but actually are still engaged with and part of operational delivery as well. So, okay, obviously public order, public safety, really, really important. Again, we don't need to go back to history in terms of the issues for policing around that, but clearly over the last couple of years, particularly with policing protest, all the events taking place throughout the country and particularly London focused. And again, as I said, obviously earlier on, in terms of the events in Leeds in West Yorkshire over this last week as well, in terms of public order, really, really important that we get this right. So tell the viewers in terms of what you've been doing around the standards, and again how we continue to evolve as a service to make sure we are fit for purpose around addressing public order and public safety.
Yeah, so the role of my team and the role of the College of Policing is to set those national minimum standards for public order, public safety. And I put the emphasis on public safety, the role of the police. You know, we're police by consent. We work with our communities, we work with our partners to keep members of the public safe. So the work that my team do are to set the minimum standards, the national minimum standards, and use several sources of evidence base to do that. So we use legislation, we use a continuous operational learning. We use reports, we use inquiries, HMI-CFRS inspections, and we use feedback loops as well as part of national operational learning and feedback. We build around those national minimum standards our products, so our authorised professional practice, operational guidance, training products, CPD, role profiles, are all set around these minimum standards. And what those products do and what those products provide are relevant training and guidance for commanders or officers involved in planning for or responding to public order, public safety incidents, with the confidence to make very difficult decisions in very difficult circumstances. You know, when you look at what's happening around the country, the majority of events that take place, we have events, festivals and protests. You know, policing supports those by keeping people safe. Public order legislation, particularly around protest, is complex, and there are many different acts and legislation, parts of legislation that commanders need to take into account. In addition to what is a fundamental right of any democracy, is the right to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, you know, and the European Convention on Human Rights. Ensuring that people have are able to, you know, we've got positive obligations for people to express and use those rights, but in the same way we have an obligation to keep people safe. So it's striking that balance between other articles within the Human Rights Act, preventing crime and dealing with criminality, whilst facilitating peaceful protest and ensuring that, you know, people do have the right to demonstrate those rights, whilst people have the right to go about their daily business. And as police, we keep, as I say, we continuously strive to keep the public safe.
And obviously these standards apply to all the police forces that obviously the college covers, doesn't it, in terms of responsibility?
Yeah, so we work with the 43 Home Office forces, but we also work with non-Home Office forces. So we have very strong working relationships with Police Scotland, with PSNI, with British Transport Police and other non-Home Office forces. We also work with British Overseas Territories, and we work very closely with people from with forces from other countries. So Canada, we held a public order, public safety conference earlier this year, and we had delegates come over from United States of America to see how we set those standards and how we deliver those standards and how the college supports operational policing. And the college also supports dynamic operational responses. So when we see of significant incidents, major incidents, critical incidents, the college are very much involved in that dynamic learning, so we can update our products and put the guidance out there very quickly so that commanders can continue to have the relevant support in continuing to make those decisions for ongoing incidents.
And if I'm right in thinking, Gaynor, I think the college can play a part in terms of peer reviewing approaches and plans for operations, and at the same time do debriefing of the events as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So the college do offer a structured debrief process, but we also offer peer review. So if a force is planning for a significant event and they want the college subject matter experts from the public order, public safety team to peer review their plans, to help offer any guidance, we can do that. And in some circumstances, we've even gone out to forces and help them to do that as part of a peer review.
And so I suppose one of the challenges for the college, and not just in terms of public order or public safety, is that making sure there's consistency in the application of the standards as well, isn't it? What sort of things are the college doing to make sure that forces are complying with the standards, and particularly around command as well?
Yeah, so in addition to our products, I mentioned earlier the authorised professional practice, the protest operational advice document, which is an operational advice document and guidance for making those dynamic operational risk assessments and decisions. But to make sure that forces are applying the standards consistently, we work at all levels. So we have strategic command products, we have tactical and operational. And the team, we have a quality assurance process where we go out and we support forces in delivering to the national standards to make sure that they're delivering to authorised professional practice. And obviously these are licensed products, so we want to support forces in their obligation and complying with their licence or different elements of legislation such as health and safety. We're very pragmatic in our approach and we're very supportive. And we want forces to achieve and succeed. So prior to any of these visits, we will have had some good communication with that force, and we will have helped them to assess themselves as well as to where they're at in terms of those national standards. So we have some very good, strong working relationships with all forces, and we do quality assure what we deliver.
Yeah, and again, I can talk from experience about having been exposed to that myself as a commander at the same time. Again, I think the important thing for viewers to be aware of here, in terms of supporting forces, and in particular around mutual aid, where forces go into another force to support them, is common practice in policing now. Not just for the big events, but sometimes to make sure that force that may not get the same exposure as other forces, like smaller forces may not get the exposure, but actually therefore their officers are kept up to level in terms of CPD and everything else, isn't it? So again, that makes sure there's consistency in standards, therefore we can move police officers, police resources around the country to deal whatever's dealing with this. Is really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that happens every week. Mutual aid happens every week. The fact that we have a national consistent standard of training and operational delivery is absolutely vital, because no matter where a protest is taking place, or no matter where a victim of crime is, they expect professional, consistent service from police officers. So having that national consistency and ensuring it's being applied consistently is really important.
So taking account of the work you've been doing whilst you've been at the college, is there anything particularly you're really proud of what you've done, and where you're going to leave part of your legacy as you leave in a few weeks' time?
Yeah, oh gosh, that's a really good question. I'm really proud of the team. They work really hard. It's a small team. I know I said I had a team of 25 people, but when you compare that to the amount of work that we do and the amount of forces that we support, I have a really passionate team, and we've grown and developed in the 2.5 years that I've been here as policing standards manager. We've reviewed and revised the POPS APP, so the Public Order Public Safety APP, which was a significant piece of work and vital in supporting forces and delivering national consistency around training and operational delivery. We've reviewed and revised the protest operational advice documents, so commanders and officers involved in planning for and responding to protests have the guidance to give them the confidence to make difficult decisions in difficult circumstances. We've developed really strong working relationships with forces through the quality assurance process. I think one of the things I'm really proud of, though, was I attended a public order conference in Italy last year, and I was one of 2 women at the conference, so that was that was difficult to stand up and speak in front of people, but I felt very proud of that. But the Italian police, the public order, public safety police in Italy, were really impressed with the college's APP and how that's used and the information that that contains. So we've had further contact and dialogue with them, and their intention is to look at a model very similar to APP to support their national standards and training and guidance. And I was able to demonstrate the new APP and go through it with them, and that was something I was particularly proud of.
Yeah, and you should be as well, because again, I think it's important that viewers understand that the college is influencing not just in the UK but outside the UK. And whilst yes, as always, there's lots of challenges policing needs to address in the UK and is focused on addressing those issues, but the reality is we are still influencing and making a difference across the world, aren't we, in terms of policing? Yeah. So in terms of evaluation, which is always an interesting conversation, is about how do we make sure the things that we're doing are still current. And I know if Mr. Marshall's here now, talk about making sure it's dynamic, it's relevant, it's connected, all the bits that you'll know very well. But how do you evaluate some of the stuff that we're doing? And again, how do you review that?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier on in the discussion, public safety is a significant part of planning for public order and public safety events and protests, and again we police by consent, so it's very difficult to evaluate what you prevent. However, we are part of a national, a national stakeholder collaborative working relationship with the NPCC and the National Police Coordination Centre, where we have strong, robust operational learning processes in place. So we have debriefing processes, yep, where the college is part of that, and the college's role in that is to take the learning and apply that to national standards and products. So we have a good idea there of how it's impacting operationally from that debriefing process. We also host bi-monthly knowledge sharing events for commanders, and those events are commanders who come along and give a real life lived experience on an incident that they've dealt with recently, and they will talk about how the college has helped them to prepare that from the considerations they had, maybe the products and the guidance that they called upon to use to help them through that process. So again, that's part of the feedback loop. And then I would say the quality assurance process and peer review process really helps us to inform an understanding of how the products that we deliver are having an impact on operational frontline delivery. But we can't use statistics, because the purpose of what we do isn't to prevent anything. It's not to prevent protests. It's to prevent harm happening to the public and facilitating those peaceful processes and making sure that the legislation is used appropriately and making sure that everybody, because the police is impartial in this, so everybody who's within that protest, whether protest groups, opposing protest groups, or members of the community, are kept safe.
So just again, for colleagues that sat watching this now thinking, oh, I'm really interested in some of the products you touched on. So the APP was obviously about authorised practice, about how we should be doing things. How can people access that information?
So everything's on the college website. So authorised professional practice is on the college website. It's also a public facing document. Obviously there are things that are restricted for police use, but it's a public facing document, as is the process operational advice document. We use Knowledge Hub, so if anybody wants to join Knowledge Hub and join the POPs community, then you can access all our products that way. Contact the college public order public safety team, and we're more than happy to help with any inquiries that anybody has, or wants to know about any of the products that we produce. We have really good contacts with public order public safety leads in forces, so if anybody in a force makes contact with their training team, then they can put them in contact with us as well.
And my last one for you, again, taking account of all your service, and obviously, again, clearly you live and breathe this subject, and clearly you show your passion now, which is, again, credit to yourself and shows your true leadership for yourself individually. But clearly we want our new officers that are joining to come and join the gang, i.e. join the public order, public safety teams. How do we encourage them? How do we make sure them? What would you say to somebody that comes to you today, say, Gaynor, should I become a public order, public safety officer? Should I do it? What would you say to them?
I would say an overwhelming yes, and these are the reasons why. As I say, I've done public order throughout my career, and I've done some amazing things. I worked in the Commonwealth Games in 2002. That's a long time ago, back in Manchester. I was on an escort team there. You get to deal with many events like that many public events that you feel very proud of being a part of, and that you helped to make those run smoothly, and that you were part of keeping people safe there. But also you deal with some very difficult and emotional events, and events that will test you, events that will make you feel frightened, events that will make you feel upset because you've seen something that's, you know, that's really impacted on you. But it's worth it, because you're part of making that difference. You're part of keeping people safe. You're part of changing democracy. If you facilitate a peaceful protest and some changes come as a result of that, then you're part of that as well. So there are many roles in public order, public safety. It's not just running around with a shield. It's about emotion. It's about decision making. It's about working with communities and understanding how things impact on them as well. And as a police officer, I find that really, really rewarding. And I'm going to miss it. I am really going to miss it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, our time is up for this episode. But again, certainly from my side, and again, hopefully echoed by other colleagues, firstly, a massive thank you for all the work you've been doing in the college. But importantly, thank you for your service. You do go on to your next chapter. It's not so frightening as some people may think it is, but you never forget all the things that you've learned, the people that you've worked with. So a massive thank you, and wish you all the very best for the future.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So, and you too. So colleagues, obviously that's we will be speaking to other gainers or other leaders in the college in the coming episodes. Again, importantly, that'll be to highlight the good work of the college and how it's working with local forces to make sure we're delivering the best possible service to the public and reducing crime and antisocial behaviour. So for now, as always, thank you for watching, and look out for episode 6.